My name's Gareth Sanders. I am the Managing Director here at Sparkle Cleaning Franchising. During COVID, we've reached out to a lot of cleaning companies and we've had a lot of cleaning companies reach out to us, just offering a bit of support. And what we found is that the same questions keep coming up. So what we wanted to do is make a few short videos just to help those questions be answered as efficiently as possible. One of the questions we got asked all the time was, how do we promote our cleaning business? Especially during the pandemic, during the last 12 months, it's all been incredibly hard. So here are some of the top ways you can promote your cleaning company, even with a pandemic going on. First thing we're going to look at is press releases. Now the press is full of negative information at the moment. So if you can get a good news story out, it's a great way to promote your business. There are a few things to think about though. Think about the readership and who you are trying to target. If you're looking for domestic clients, there's no point in putting an advert out in a commercial magazine. Chances are it's not going to hit the right clients. Even if it's a super cheap advert or a free advert, think to yourself, is it worth it? Am I going to be hitting my target market? So where if you're trying to target parents with kids in a school age, well then have a look at the local newsletter, the school newsletter. That could be a great place to advertise. Generally, they're not too expensive, but make sure you have a clear idea of who you're trying to target. Some of the other options are newspapers, radio stations, TVs, magazines. There's loads of different options for printed information, printed press. Just make sure you have that target right. There's also no point in just putting out the advert once. The way marketing works is that people keep seeing the name, keep seeing the brand, keep seeing the information. So if you're just trying to put it out once and get a response, chances are it's going to be very, very low and you might not even make your own money back. Therefore, make sure it's consistent. It's worth taking a smaller advert that you can run for 6-12 months than a big advert that you can only run for 1 month. And have a think when you're putting these adverts out. What do you really want to say? Are you advertising a new product? Are you advertising a successful new client? Are you advertising a discount? Make sure that you have the information you required. Don't try and advertise everything all at once. It's going to be too much information and you're not going to get the message across. If you're struggling to write, getting your message across efficiently, there are lots of people out there who will write this text for you. It's always worth having a look at a PR professional. This is their job, this is what they do. Chances are they have connections with journalists already in the local area. Therefore, you don't necessarily just have to be lucky to get your press release out there. They have those relationships with the journalists. So therefore, you're probably going to get a more success rate. Now, you've got to take into consideration that there is a higher cost to this. But if you know your numbers, then you'll know how much a client is worth for you. And you'll know if you only need 1, 2, 3 clients, whatever that may be. And because you'll be checking your conversion rates, you'll know how many clients you expect to get from running that one advert. Another way to get clients, especially during the pandemic, is using direct mail. Now, direct mail is using that old thing, a pen, a paper, a letter, and a stamp. Putting it in your post box, sending it out. You have to be realistic, though, about what your rates are going to be in return. A lot of people think, oh, if I send out 100 letters, I'll get 80 responses. You won't. No one does. Or if they do, great on them. I've never experienced that. Typically for us, when we do direct mail, we will get between 20 and 30% responses. Still a great response rate, but then we also have to take them through our quote process, our onboarding process. So that will still get whittled down a little bit. When you're working out if direct mail is worth it, have a look at all the costs involved. It's not a case of just writing a letter and posting it. It's the cost of the printing, cost of the paper, cost of the envelopes, cost of the stamps. It's even your costs of walking it to the post box. Even if you go, well, it doesn't matter, I'm still on my way there because I'm walking the dog or walking to school or whatever it may be. It's still a cost. If you're running your own business, every minute of every day is a cost. Take it into account. How many clients do you need to win from that to make it worthwhile for your time? Brochures are something that I have very mixed feelings about. We typically only use them when we go and do expos or big shows, simply because brochures are generally that thing when you can't quite close a client and you go, let me just leave you with this, just so you keep it with you so you have it. It's a bit more information than a business card and they don't have to have the hassle of going onto the website. But typically it's exactly the same information. The important things to remember with brochures are you want to make it something that they're not just going to throw away. So it has to look right, it has to be printed on good quality paper. For this, there is a cost, same as everything with this sort of marketing. Get yourself a good designer, get yourself a good printer, make sure it's worth it. But also when you're giving out, one of the questions that gets asked all the time is how do you know if they're working? Now the easiest way to tell if they're working is ask. So when a new client comes on board, have the conversation. Hey, how did you hear about us? Brochure, oh fantastic, tick, works. The other way you can do it is to put in some sort of discount. Call now with the code brochure and get 25% off your first clean. Just a couple of different ideas to know if they work. Obviously, if you've got 3 or 4 different style of brochures out, you might have to tailor them slightly so you know the difference between all of them. There's no point in having a 25% discount in all 4 different brochures. You never know which one's going to be working the best. Leaflets are very similar to brochures and direct mail. You're only really going to get a 10 to 15% return on it. In the domestic market, this is generally a bit higher, but commercially, it's 10 to 15%. Once again, you can do them yourself using something like Canva or Publisher or many other options out there. But for the best return, it's always best to get a good designer and a good printer. Make sure it shows the quality of the service you will give. Don't forget, the client is going to make an assumption based on that leaflet that comes out. So if it's on cheap paper, printed on back front, and it's not quite aligned properly, they're going to make a judgment call on that. If it's a good quality card, come from a printer, designed correctly, the colors are sharp, you know it's going to be a good service behind that. This is someone who's spent the money on the leaflets. So they're already spending money on the client before they even become a client. Same as everything else though. Make sure you know when you're going to break even. There's still costs involved. You've got the cost of the designer, cost of the printer, cost of delivering them. Are you going to deliver them? Is that coming out of your own time, or are you going to pay someone to deliver? Are some of your team going to deliver if they've got a bit of downtime? And most importantly, where are you going to be delivering them? You've got to know who your target market is, who your target client is. If you know who your target client is and your target market is, then you know where to deliver them. There's no point in just throwing out 1,000 leaflets and hoping you hit the right people. Exactly the same though as with a brochure. The best way to know if they're working is to ask, or to put an offer on, or put a code on. Say leaflet and get 15% off. Make sure though, if you're putting out anything like leaflets or brochures, you're testing it and you're keeping a record of how much return you get. Otherwise, you'll never know if it's worth you doing again. If you're creating offers though, on whether it's a leaflet, a brochure, and direct mail, whatever it may be, make sure it's an offer with a deadline. Because if you're not offering something with a deadline, then it's not an offer. It's just your standard service. So I was on a sales seminar the other day, and the guy taking the seminar, he came out and he said, we are offering this training package for you and your team. It's at a reduced price. All you need to do is to book within the next 15 minutes. Now, obviously I was there, it was a great offer, it's a great seminar, it's a great salesperson. And I went, actually, that would be great for all of our franchisees. Where's my card? And I booked it up there. If he had said to us, you have 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, chances are I would have forgotten about it, I would have got distracted, and then I would have looked back and gone, I missed it, never mind, let's move on. If you're creating these offers, make sure that there is a deadline on them. If you're handing out these leaflets, call within the next 7 days, 5 days, 3 days, whatever it may be. It's also really important though, if you're running these offers, to make sure you're able to service any new clients that come on board. There's no point in making an offer if you can't service new clients come on. So if you're saying, book now and get a free oven clean in the next 7 days, make sure you can deliver that. If not, limit it for our first 10 clients. At least if people are coming to you, you know that's there. You can restart the offer in 3 or 6 months, reach out to those people and go, hey, you know that offer you wanted before, we're actually relaunching it. I'd love to give you first refusal because you just missed out last time. In our Sparkle franchising system, we run 35 different ways of attracting clients to you. And then we have 25 to 30 ways of converting them into clients from prospects as well. If you want a bit more information, the link is just below.